discussing another sustainable development goal. For this one, it's development goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. This, among probably the last two that we've talked about, are pretty important to actually achieve the entire agenda, because these are kind of the basis of the agenda, and they are very, very related between each other, okay? So goal number 9 basically explains that we need to invest in infrastructure and innovation in order to achieve economic growth and development. But it's important to do these investments understanding and considering the growth of the new industries, the information and the communication technologies, okay? Technological progress is also key to finding lasting solutions to both economic and environmental challenges, okay? It's important to understand that this technological growth can help us find, for example, more efficient energy or alternative fuels, and that will help with the environmental crisis that we're going through right now. So promoting sustainable industries and investing in scientific research and innovation are all important ways to facilitate sustainable development. One thing that we talked last week with Sustainable Development Goal number 11 is that most of the cities where we live are not planned, they just grow. And in the case of the industry, it happens the same way. Most of the places where the industries or factories are built up, not necessarily were planned to be there. So it's important to understand that industrialization needs to grow hand by hand with the cities, sustainable cities and communities, okay? Inclusive and sustainable industrialization, together with innovation and infrastructure, can unleash dynamic and competitive economic forces that generate employment and income. It's important to understand that the industry plays a key role in introducing and promoting new technologies, facilitating international trade, and the efficient use of resources. But we need to recognize that right now the planet has a really long way to go with this. Most of our industry are not environmental friendly. Right now there is, I'm not sure if in Venezuela it's a legislation, but in most countries of the planet is a legislation that industries now need to be 3B. This basically means that the companies needs to be completely environmental friendly, not just with their production, but with the uses and consumptions inside the company, okay? We talk about this in another goal, but it's being responsible and conscious about what you consume and how you consume, the resources that you consume, not only what you produced. In the least developed countries in particular, we need to accelerate the development of manufacturing sectors if we want to meet the 2030 goal target and scale up our investments in scientific research and innovation. Due to the pandemic of the COVID-19, the manufacturing growth around the globe has been strike and declining in a very impressive way. Most of the industries and companies around the globe are stopped, and that has decreased the stability of these companies and the power of creating and innovating. So this value will change completely the view and the plan that it has for those companies to achieve the target in 2030 of the Sustainable Development Goals. So probably after this whole pandemic ends, the world is going to have to rethink a little bit better of how we are going to adapt some of the sustainable goals to the new reality, you might say. because obviously there's a lot of companies that has wasted at least 2 months worth of work in order to achieve the targets that they have for this year, for example, that will build up to achieve the 2030 targets. So after the pandemic, there is a lot of reevaluating that is going to happen. There are some important facts to know about this goal. It's important to know that basic infrastructure, information and communication technology, sanitation, electrical power, and water remains difficult in many development countries. These things that we mentioned here are basic needs in order to create or work in the growth of the companies. So if we don't have this, it's very hard to have efficient companies. 60% of the global population does not have access to mobile brand networks. Industrialization's job multiplication effect has a positive impact on society. Every job in manufacturing creates 2.2 jobs in other sectors. Small and medium-sized enterprises that engage in industrial processing and manufacturing are the most critical for the early stage of industrialization and are typically the largest job creators. They make up over 90% of business worldwide and account for between 50 and 60% of employment. We're talking about what we know here in Venezuela as pymes. These ones are the base of the industrialization process in any development country, and they make up over 90% of the jobs in the market. Least developed countries have immense potential for industrialization in food and beverage, textiles, and garments with good prospect for sustained employment generation and higher productivity. This is a fact that applies directly to our country. We have a lot of potential to create very stable, big, and productive industries. We just need to come up with a plan that help us create those companies in order to open up the job market for the society. Middle-income countries can benefit from entering the basic and fabricated metals industry, which offer a range of products facing rapidly growth international demand. These are the countries that are not necessarily developed, but are more close to that, and they can open a different branch of companies. In developing countries, barely 30% of agriculture production undergoes industrial processing. In high-income countries, 90% is processed. This suggests that there are great opportunities for developing countries in agribusiness. Most of the high-income countries or the developed countries, most of their production is already processed. In our country, developing countries, only 30% of that production is processed, which means that we need to have more companies, more industries that manufacture that food, okay? These are facts to take in account when we're talking about industrialization for the countries in the planet in order to make it sustainable and actually conscious with the environment. I would leave you, as usual, the website of the UN, where you can see the progress, targets, and the indicators of this goal according to the planet since 2018. You can see there in more depth the targets that this goal is searching to achieve and how is the situation in the countries around the globe. Remember that specifically this one is going to have a drastic change after the COVID-19 pandemic because there's a lot of restructure that is going to happen for most of the industries around the globe. I will also leave you a couple of videos that goes in depth about what things we can do to understand the actions that we can take in order to help achieve this goal. We are also, I'll leave you a TED Talk as usual that it's called Social Infrastructure that explains how we need to actually think about the spaces that we have in our city and how to take advantage of them in a very smart way that is efficient for the environment, for the planet, and to consume the resources that we need. It's a very interesting talk of how we need to think about our social infrastructure in our cities, communities, for our industry. Okay, so I highly recommend you to watch that one. And the other two videos are very much about how the technological innovation can help us with the innovation of the infrastructure and the industry. So I really would like you, if you can see those videos and actually understand a little bit more about what this goal searches. As usual, if you have any questions, you can contact me through the HegNotes application. You can leave me a comment in the Google Classroom, or you can send me an email. I really hope this will give you information in order to understand better this Sustainable Development Goals. And see you in the next video, guys. Bye.